He's 41 years old. Most players his age retired a decade ago. He's still scoring at the World Cup. In 2026, he did something no human had ever done. Not in 10 years, not in 50, in the entire 96-year history of the World Cup. And that was only the beginning. Over the next few games, he rewrote the record book so many times that broadcasters could barely keep up. Some of these might stand for 100 years. And the last one I'll show you is so absurd you'll have to pause just to process it. These are all the records Ronaldo broke at the 2026 World Cup. Stay till the end for the one nobody saw coming. If you love records that should be impossible, subscribe. This channel breaks down feats that really happened. We'll start with the record that shook the world, then the ones the casual fans completely missed. To understand what he did, you have to understand what was on the line. Going into 2026, one number waited: 5. Ronaldo had scored at 5 different World Cups. So had one other man, Lionel Messi. The two of them tied as they'd been their entire careers. One more goal at one more World Cup, and Ronaldo would stand completely alone. But there was a problem. He was 41. He'd lost his guaranteed starting spot years ago, and in the opener against DR Congo, the moment everyone waited for didn't come. 90 minutes, no goal, a 1-1 draw. The doubts got loud. Then came Uzbekistan. 5th minute, João Cancelo whips in a cross. Ronaldo is exactly where he's been for 20 years, right in front of goal. One touch, and it's in the net before the keeper can move. And with that single goal, history. The first player ever, man or woman, to score at 6 different World Cups. 6! In a sport that's 96 years old. His first World Cup goal came in 2006 against Iran when he was a 21-year-old kid with frosted tips. His latest came 20 years later. 20 years. When he scored his first, the iPhone didn't exist. YouTube was 1 year old. Some players beside him in 2026 hadn't been born. Hold that thought. It matters later. And here's why it's his record and not Messi's. Messi also played 6 World Cups, but in 2010, under Maradona, Messi didn't score. That single blank opened the door, and Ronaldo walked through it. But he wasn't done. 39th minute, Bruno Fernandes splits the defense with a perfect through ball. Ronaldo runs onto it and finishes again. A brace. 2 goals in one game at 41. And that second goal set another record. The oldest player ever to score twice in a single World Cup match. Here's the wild part. That record had been broken just days earlier by Messi at 38. Ronaldo didn't just break it, he obliterated it by 3 whole years. It gets better. That goal made him the second oldest player ever to score at a World Cup. The only man ahead of him, Roger Milla, who scored at 42 in 1994. And remember his first World Cup in 2006? He was the youngest Portuguese ever to score at one. So Ronaldo now holds both ends of the timeline, the youngest and one of the oldest ever. Nobody else in the history of Portuguese football can say that. But he wasn't just breaking his own records, he was passing legends. That brace pushed him to 10 career World Cup goals for Portugal, passing a name that means everything to Portuguese football, Eusebio. Eusebio lit up 1966 with 9 World Cup goals. That record stood for 60 years. Ronaldo walked past it and kept going. His World Cup goals have come against everyone. 3 against Spain, 2 against Ghana, 2 against Uzbekistan, and 1 each against Iran, North Korea, and Morocco. 6 different World Cups across 3 decades against opponents from every corner of the globe. Now zoom out from the World Cup and the numbers get silly. 145 international goals, the most any man has ever scored for a national team in the entire history of the sport. Over 230 caps, again, the most ever. He is, statistically, the most productive international footballer who has ever lived. And he was adding to it, live, at 41. These are the records everyone reported, but there's a layer underneath, the records around the record that most fans completely missed. This 2026 World Cup was the tournament of the ageless. Players aged 40 or older made more appearances than at any edition in history, and Ronaldo was the flag bearer of that movement. He's also in an impossibly small club. Only 3 men have ever played 6 World Cups: Ronaldo, Messi, and Mexico's goalkeeper, Guillermo Ochoa. 3 humans in 96 years. And step outside the national team, and his resume stops making sense. 140 goals in the Champions League, a record. 5 Champions League titles. 5 Ballon d'Ors. And he's closing in on 1,000 career goals, a number so far beyond any active player that it might never be reached again. Every one of these records fed the same story in 2026, a man refusing to let the sport move on without him. But that raises a question. How is any of this physically possible at 41? Footballers peak around 27. By 34, most are done at the top level. Ronaldo scored a World Cup brace at 41. That's not luck. That's a machine built on obsession. He's spoken about it for years. Sleep routines, sometimes 5 short sleeps a day. Ice baths, a diet with almost no sugar or alcohol. Training he stays late for after everyone's gone home. For 2 decades, while the sport changed around him, one thing never did. He outworked everybody. And he didn't fight aging, he evolved. In 2006, he was a flashy winger who beat defenders with tricks and pace. By 2026, that explosive speed was gone. So he became something else, a pure penalty box predator, a header machine, a player who scores with 2 touches instead of 10. He redesigned his entire game around his age. That's the real record, not the goals, the longevity that produced them. Which brings us to the stat I promised at the very start, the one that made commentators go silent. Get ready. When Ronaldo lined up against Uzbekistan, he stood on the same pitch as a 19-year-old named Bekruz Karimov. The age gap between them? 22 years and 183 days. The largest between 2 starting players in the entire history of the World Cup. Ever. Let that land. When Ronaldo scored his first World Cup goal in 2006, this opponent wasn't a footballer. He wasn't a fan. He hadn't started school. He wasn't born yet. He's been scoring at World Cups longer than some of his opponents have been alive. He didn't just break records at the 2026 World Cup. He broke the concept of a football career. He's playing against a generation that grew up watching him as children, as their childhood hero, and now shares the pitch with him. That's not longevity anymore. That's time travel. So here's the real question. Will we ever see anything like this again? A 41-year-old, 6 World Cups, rewriting history live. Drop your answer below. And if this blew your mind, subscribe, because there are records on this channel even crazier than this one. Because some records aren't broken, they're untouchable.